So we're going to look at 3 case studies on how we work with clients and what problems we solve or have solved for them. First, I'm going to explain what a BAS agent is, and I do want to talk about the system we use. So, what does this picture have to do with bookkeeping? This is part of my why. I love matching, I love patterning, and I even do that when I'm pegging out the clothes. So I did change to wooden pegs, but they fade differently, so I still pattern. So, you want to do them? Sorry? Oh, just something in the lights there. Who are we? We are not employees and we are not administration assistants. We must have a minimum certificate 4 in financial services bookkeeping. We must have a minimum of 1,400 hours with BAS, GST or PAYG experience, and that has to keep going on. We must have professional indemnity insurance, and we must keep continuing our professional education, and we must be a member of a bookkeeping or an accounting association, which we are with Australian Bookkeepers Network. We are a BAS agent, and that is a big difference to an employee or a contract bookkeeper who's not. You want that tick because we are certified and governed by the Tax Practitioners Board, and that's basically your insurance. When you take on a bookkeeper, you've got somewhere to go if something happens or goes wrong, and if we've got professional indemnity insurance, you've also got somewhere to go with that as well. So, back in 2011, I pulled on the pure bookkeeping system. This is how we do what we do. Our bookkeeper, Debbie Roberts, and her business coach, Peter Cook, put together this system because they needed to get out of her head how to do the bookkeeping and put it in a system so that her employees could follow it. And now she's shared it with the bookkeepers, not just in Australia, but around the world. She's also got a book called The E-Myth for Bookkeepers, by the way. She worked with Michael E. Gerber on that, by the way. Okay, so this is my favourite moment in the office. And you're all excited. This is the HR block moment. Yes, okay. So, what happens? So many people say to me, well, why would I get a BAS agent to lodge my BAS instead of the accountant? My accountant lodges my BAS. Now, just a disclaimer, this is not Anitra. She does not do what I'm about to say, but many accountants that we see will go into the client's data file, pull the numbers out as they are, put them in the spaces on the BAS, lodge the BAS for them, get them to sign that they are responsible for everything in that BAS. And that's it. Well, not here, not with the pure bookkeeping system. We want to see that sign on every part of your accounts. We want to know that everything reconciles. You are covered if ever you have a GST audit. So please understand, there is no similarity between an accountant of that calibre and a BAS agent with a system like this. Because honestly, have a look through the folder. We have a checklist on everything, and that's exactly the process that we put every BAS through, every account through. All right, and we won't lodge till we get that tick. 3 case studies. I would like you first to meet Edward. Edward has had his business for over 30 years, and he does his own bookkeeping. Amazing. Really does an amazing job in MYOB. I was sort of like, do you really need us? He has a sizable business and he wanted to do a few things. He needed to streamline his processing because he understood that there were some bits that he was doing that was taking more time. He also wanted to take the bookkeeping off-site from the business. He wanted, so that they had their long-term goal is that they've got someone a couple of hours away that they would like to hand the bookkeeping over to. So we were sort of preparing for that. And he also wanted to be able to go overseas and travel. So we first created batch payments. So in MYOB, we're able to pay off all the suppliers, create a file that you just simply upload in your bank. So you take away all the manual processing of those payments in the bank, and you also reduce your capacity for errors. Now, then we set up Receipt Bank. And this goes right along with what Anita was saying today, because this is how you make sure you can substantiate every claim. So you have an email, and I demonstrated this beautifully for Darcy yesterday. You have an email come from B&O with your invoice. You email it through to Receipt Bank. Your bookkeeper on another place, far away, can jump in here, see that invoice, and processes it over to your data file. So Receipt Bank talks to MYOB, Xero and QuickBooks Online. And that means that when the ATO does an audit, your receipt is sitting right there in your file, that you don't even have to have a folder of receipts. So, or if your accountant's jumped in your file to do your end of year, they can see that you have substantiated every claim. And you do want to, anything over $82.50, you make sure you have a receipt for. So, and there's also an app on your phone, so you can take a photo of your receipt. So get your fuel, take a photo, and don't have that glove box full of receipts because it's all in the app. And Bunnings fades, so please take the photo. And we also did weekly payable reports, fixed up, so supported him with the supplier payments, monthly reconciliations, etc. So the results were that he now has a very up-to-date and fully reconciled MyOB file, systems in place for bookkeeping to be done remotely, and the added support of technical knowledge, GST, coding, payroll and MYOB. And that's exactly what he said. He said, thank you, especially through the payment summaries, thank you for holding our hand. Thank you for taking us through that. And often we are there just as a consultant sort of support. And he was able to travel overseas. All right, we will go on to Daniel. Daniel manufactures a product and sells the product direct to customers. He was doing his own bookkeeping in Xero. His main thing is he needed to be paid, and he also needed to know who he owed when, and he needed to have weekly bookkeeping support. So we created a system to be able to follow the customers up, and we've pretty much got that down pat now. And for him, we use not Receipt Bank but HubDoc. So there's a couple of choices that you can have for making sure you have your receipts and invoices in a document storage system. And it's a similar process of emailing through or taking a photo. And we also did his weekly bookkeeping, which really assists his cash flow. So the result was that he now has a third party following up on his customer payments. He doesn't have to talk about that with customers, except he does know who he's going to supply to this week. So he knows who hasn't paid him because we've given that all to him, and he knows not to supply them until they've paid their bill. He clearly knows what's coming up, what he owes, and he's able to focus more on growing his business. Meet Kate. Kate phoned in tears last year. So the accountant had lodged her tax return, and then unbeknownst to her, had lodged 4 lots of PAYG instalments all on the one day. Didn't tell her. She wasn't getting the form. It was all going to the accountant. And the ATO started chasing her for her debt. And it was a mess. So what did we do? Quickly pulled her into a system for bookkeeping, so we put her onto QuickBooks Online. She wasn't registered for GST and she was over the threshold, so we were looking at that, and we're helping her to understand what is a PAYG instalment, where did that come from. So we set up and trained her in using QuickBooks Online. She didn't need us to do all her bookkeeping. She was quite, she knows how to do a lot of things. So we trained her in that. She's doing amazing. And we backdated her GST registration so that we could, she's a GST free service, so that means a lot of her BASs, if she didn't have the PAYG, would be refundable, which she would be getting money back. So that would then reduce her PAYG instalments. And we liaised with the ATO to set up payment plans. And this is how she felt. And can I just say, If you have the ATO on the phone and you say, oh no, my accountant did that or my bookkeeper did that, it's not they don't take that as an excuse. You are responsible as the business owner. So make sure you stay in the know because you don't want that. Okay, so we fixed all that for her. There you go. Thank you very much. Am I done? 10 minutes?